Okay, so I've decided I might skip talking about the best animated feature, best foreign language film, and best documentary feature for a while. I'll still talk about them later because they definitely deserve to be talked about. I'm just running out of time, so let's talk about best cinematography for now, and the nominees for that are Birdman, Emmanuel Lubezki, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Robert Yeoman, Ida, Lucas Sal and Ryszard Lenszowski, Mr. Turner, Dick Pope, and Unbroken, Roger Deakins. Now here's the thing about me and the cinematography category, I always have such a hard time putting them in order because I always feel like the nominees are all so good in their own ways that it's literally just impossible for me to come up with a final list. In fact, the list I will read right now, it could change tomorrow. Like, I'm not really certain about who I picked as number one, but let's go with it for now. So in terms of who I think should win the Oscar, at number 5, I'm going to put Unbroken. Now, the cinematographer for Unbroken, Roger Deakins, is the closest that modern cinematography has to a real superstar. Like he did The Shawshank Redemption way back in the day. He's been doing great work throughout the decades. I first really took notice of him when he did Skyfall, which has amazing cinematography. He did Prisoners the year after, and now he's doing Unbroken. And objectively speaking, Roger Deakins' work is always really great. It's always very clean, it's very vivid, it's always framed very well, so he has that technique down. But Unbroken cinematography is curiously very bright for the entire running time, which surprised me because I feel like the subject matter is pretty dark, and I kind of would wanted more like a darker approach to the material because Roger Deakins has proven that he is very good at dark things. But this might also be because of Angelina Jolie's direction. Maybe she just kind of glossed everything up. There are a few striking images in Unbroken, especially near the end and especially during moments of weakness in the movie, but I just don't feel like there are enough to really kind of give this a nomination. So yeah, that's just my opinion though. At number 4, I'm going to put Mr. Turner. And it says a lot about the rest of the nominees when I say that I love the cinematography in Mr. Turner, and it's only at number 4. Every single frame in this movie is just so incredibly crisp, and it's just overflowing with detail. And I know for a fact that they really tried to make certain shots look like Mr. Turner's actual paintings, but kind of more detailed, not as kind of washed out. And I think it all looks extremely beautiful. Light really plays a big role in both the story and in Turner's actual paintings. And this movie, like Unbroken, is also very quite bright all the way through, but in a good way this time because it actually serves a purpose. And there are some landscape shots in this movie. They're just so breathtaking, and it just feels like you're there. But there are also a lot of very, very intimate moments just indoors and stuff, and with slightly lower lighting, and it's all very, very good. There are also a couple of really long takes, both just static and mobile, so it's great that Dick Pope, the cinematographer, is able to kind of switch on and off from different styles throughout this movie. Now, at number 3, unsurprisingly, this only ended up at number 3 for me here, but again, this could change tomorrow, is Birdman. And the thing about Birdman cinematography is that it's all about movement. The cinematographer here, Emmanuel Lubezki, did Gravity last year, and he won, of course. And Birdman is supposed to feel like just this one-take movie, and he does this so well that the movie really, because of this one-take stuff, feels very restless, but at the same time feels very claustrophobic. It really allows for the shifts in tone to work, and he does this extremely well. But despite the constant movement, the movie is always surprisingly well lit. It's very well colored the entire time, and there are a ton of memorable shots in this movie. But what makes them even more kind of precious is the fact that all these great shots are very transient. They only occur for like a second at a time because the camera has to keep moving. So it's great that you have lots of little gems throughout these 2 hours. And the camera manages to shift from being really intimate and unobtrusive to the characters to being really kind of in your face and energetic. So it's just great to watch. At number 2, I'm going to put Ida. And I know a lot of people have not seen Ida, but if you're like a cinematography buff, you have to watch this movie. It's so gorgeous. It's absolutely incredible what the 2 cinematographers here were able to pull off. And one thing I want to note is that when you have a black and white movie, you can't just convert your movie into black and white and expect it to look great. You still have to color it well, and I think Ida looks absolutely fantastic. It actually feels like an old movie in that The edges like feel really kind of soft. It feels like they dug this up, like they dug up like an old film reel somewhere in Poland and then just like turned it into a movie. It really feels like they filmed it in the 50s or something. And like the framing they use in the movie, the use of negative space, it's pretty much perfect in my opinion. It's so good. And the aspect ratio they use in this movie, which is 4:3, which is like the square that they use in old movies, it's put to extremely good use, as well as the use of light also is just used really well for both storytelling and just aesthetic appeal. And there's this very subtle change that happens in the camera movement by the end of the movie that really speaks volumes about how the character of Ida has changed and where she might go, and it's great that they're able to tell that through camera movement. But finally, at number one, and I didn't expect this to be at number one when I made this list, but for now, number one, I'm gonna have to give it again to the Grand Budapest Hotel. Like a lot of Wes Anderson movies, the Grand Budapest Hotel, everything is just perfectly framed, and it's just so symmetrical and centered. But the thing that really kind of makes the Grand Budapest Hotel special is that Wes Anderson and his cinematographer Robert Yeoman do this through 3 different aspect ratios. This movie has 3 different kind of like framings, and it's always so symmetrical and centered. The coloring is extremely vivid. It's brimming with personality. Like from location to location, it still has a unique feel to it, and it gradually gets just a bit grainier the older the time period gets. Honestly, the Grand Budapest Hotel, in my opinion, is just so visually stunning that the first time I watched it, I couldn't concentrate on the movie because I was too busy trying to look at everything on the screen. And it's mind-blowing to me how Robert Yeoman was able to, he never lets up the entire movie. Like, he really, every single frame is a painting. I know that's kind of a cliche, but it's true for this movie. But in terms of who I think will win the Oscar, I really think they're going to give it to Birdman, because Emmanuel Lubezki won last year, and the Academy has a knack for giving the cinematography Oscar to like the flashiest movie, and I think Birdman is definitely like the flashiest one here because it's all about the movement, it's all about the whole one take thing. You can see it as a gimmick, but it really works for the movie, and I think they will give it to Birdman. So those are my thoughts on the cinematography category for this year. Who do you think should win? Who do you think will win? Whatever you think, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.